All right, let's cook some short ribs from Sindel Farms in Marietta, Florida. So 2 weekends ago, I had a guy's trip and we went to Marietta, Florida, and we visited the one and only Southern Craft Creamery Market, which, if you might recall our previous videos, we toured their creamery and their dairy farm. So at the market, I picked up some short ribs that have a lot of good beef, but I decided on the short ribs. And after, we went over to the creamery and tried some ice cream. I got some mixed berry sweet cream ice cream, and it was delicious. My friend Brett, which you can see them here, this is Paul, this is Brett, and where's Max? Here's Max. Brett got some ice cream that had corn in it, and it was actually delicious, no lie. But before we cook the short ribs, let's go ahead and prep our vegetables. I'm gonna take about 6 or 7 whole carrots, already peeled them. I'm gonna cut them up into little cylinders and then put them over the side and then do the exact same thing for the celery. Now I'm gonna take about 2 or 3 stalks, really depends on how much you really like celery. And also, I don't really know if you can do anything with the leaves of a celery stalk. So let me know in the comments if you do anything with them. And next is the extremely tedious process of peeling an entire head of garlic. So this took about, 4 or 5 minutes. Very time consuming. I know you can put them in a cup, but I decided to do the old trusted method of just peeling them. And for all the sticklers out there, I am flipping the cutting board. And then let's start with these really delicious looking short ribs. So first, I'm gonna cut them up into more manageable size cubes. Totally optional. If you have a pot big enough for them, do it. But I'm gonna cut them up. And then all the videos I looked up said you really need to trim the silver skin and any excess fat that you might see on the ribs. So this is what I did. You might notice this one that I have, it's a little bit frozen. So it's a little bit not frozen, but it was a little bit more difficult to get the fat and the silver skin off. So if they're coming from the freezer, make sure they're very well thawed, but you shouldn't have too much problem getting the fat side off of them. As you can see here, it's coming off very easily, and it's very satisfying because it just looks like a perfect little piece of paper, kind of. Look at that. That's so satisfying. All right, so I'm doing the same thing here, making sure to get all the silver skin. Essentially, the silver skin will not render down, and it will just be chewy, and it will be nasty, and nobody wants that.
Okay, Google.
And when you're done, they should look a little bit like this. Looking a lot more leaner, no more fat and silver skin on the top. There's still a good amount of marbling in there, which is great. Next step, add some salt and pepper to all 6 sides. Don't forget the ends. But go ahead and add that before our next step, which is going to be to throw them, once again for the second recipe video in a row, we're gonna throw them in our Dutch oven after putting a little bit of olive oil in the bottom. So really important to help develop some flavors, we're going to brown all 6 sides. So we're just gonna put them all in there, let them go for about 3 or 4 minutes per side, and then flip them. All right, so once they're done, we are going to actually remove them from the pot. We're gonna take them out, and this is where our vegetables will come into play. We're gonna dump in all of our celery, all the carrots, and all the garlic. Next, we have a tiny can of tomato paste. We're gonna pour that in there and a little bit of water to help stir everything, and then we're going to add some beef broth. I actually added 1.5 cartons. Totally up to you if you wanna use beef broth, chicken stock. I really like beef broth, picked these up from Publix and decided to use them. Then we're gonna let that, mesh together for about 15 minutes to let it simmer. Then we're gonna add our beef short ribs right back to it. And this is the really important part. I've prepped the oven at about 250 degrees. You can do 275 if you want, but I prepped it at 250. We're gonna let them go in the oven for about 2.5 to 3 hours. But to be totally honest with you, I should have let them go for about 3.5, maybe 4 hours. If your short ribs are bigger than the ones I have here, definitely recommend letting them go for 4. In the meantime, for our side, I'm gonna prep Allie and I's favorite side dish, and that is Brussels sprouts. We like to say that you know you're a really good home cook when you know a decent way to prepare Brussels sprouts. I mean, you go to any restaurant, you get the Brussels sprouts, what do they have? Lots of bacon, lots of salt, lots of oil. That's essentially what these are, except sadly with no bacon. So basically just cut up the Brussels sprouts, add a decent amount of olive oil, salt and pepper and garlic powder, and then throw them in the oven with the beef short ribs. Usually put them on a pan, let them go for about 35 to 40 minutes. But because it's at about 250 degrees, we're gonna let it go for a little bit longer. Typically, we roast them at about 350 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes. We like them really charred, like almost burnt. So totally up to you on how long you wanna put it in the oven. But yeah, it's a very simple recipe and the Brussels sprouts are delicious. Okay, so back to the short ribs. It's been the 3.5 hours. They look super tender. They look delicious. So now the next step is to actually take them out of the pot because we're gonna do something really bold, but really easy. Don't be intimidated. Follow along. You can do it at home. I guarantee you. But yeah, I'm taking out all the short ribs right now. Gonna let them rest. I recommend you cover them with tinfoil so they don't dry out completely. So just set them aside until our next step, which is going to be making an absolutely delicious sauce for the short ribs. So I didn't get a video of it because it was really hard to film. But essentially pour everything that was in the Dutch oven, the broth, the carrot, celery, and garlic mixture, pour it in a bowl. And then I'm using an immersion blender. Feel free to use any blender you have at home, but essentially we're gonna blend it all together. And then using a fine mesh strainer, we're gonna pour it back in and we're gonna try to get all the nasty bits out. Well, not the nasty bits, but like the chunky bits. So it's gonna take a little bit of while to, get where it's just a smooth, thin sauce. So once you do that, let the sauce simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes. You can see that the pot was kind of going all loopsy-doopsy, which was kind of fun. But basically, let the sauce reduce, let the water in it cook off until it becomes thicker. Okay, so this sauce, just dripped on the floor, is so easy and it's delicious. Essentially, after everything was done cooking, I blended it up using an immersion blender. And it's just beef broth, celery, carrots, and garlic. And it is so good. And so easy.
Do you want to be in it or just the plate?
Just the plate, it's okay. Plating might not be the best, but that's okay.
Better save all that liquid gold.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna try it just a little bit. All right, this is good. The sauce is delicious. That sauce is the best thing I've ever cooked. So, not bad. If you're in Marietta, Florida, go check out the Southern Craft Creamery Market, or just find your local market wherever you're at. Farmers have got some great stuff like this short rib. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.